First contact gone wrong. The massive chamber of the Galactic Alliance Council hummed with tension as Elder Zinthar approached the central podium. His crystalline exoskeleton caught the light from a dozen suns projected through the chamber's transparent ceiling. 3,000 representatives from across the known universe fell silent, their diverse biology unified in attention. Esteemed colleagues, Zinthar began, his voice resonating through neural translators to each species present. I bring before you a matter of considerable importance. With a gesture of his appendage, the holographic display ignited at the chamber's center, revealing a blue-green planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star in the spiral arm of a modest galaxy. This world, designated Earth by its inhabitants, requires our immediate consideration. The display zoomed through the planet's atmosphere, showing sprawling cities, vehicles, and early spacecraft. These beings, self-named humans, have accomplished something remarkable. In merely 3 centuries, they have progressed from basic steam engines to preliminary interplanetary travel. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Such development speed was nearly unprecedented in galactic history. Senior scientist Valeris moved forward, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with the excitement of discovery. Our research indicates an extraordinary adaptability. These humans have survived multiple extinction-level events, ice ages, pandemics, atmospheric changes, each time emerging more resilient and innovative. The display shifted to show human technological progression compared to other known spacefaring species. While most civilizations followed a gradual upward curve spanning millennia, the human line shot upward at an angle that seemed almost impossible. Most concerning, Valeris continued, is their relationship with conflict. Unlike most evolved species who learn to avoid warfare as they advance, humans seem to thrive on it. Each major conflict has accelerated their technological development dramatically. The display showed brief glimpses of human wars, primitive but devastatingly effective for their technological level. They create weapons before creating cures. They imagine destruction before construction. Valeris paused. And yet, paradoxically, they show remarkable compassion and cooperation in the aftermath of these conflicts. From the rear of the chamber, a delegation distinct from the others shifted in their seats. Their rigid postures and uniformity marked them as Valorians, a species known for their military discipline and expansionist policies. What level of threat assessment do you assign to these humans? Called out Ambassador Thrix from the Centauri Federation. Zinthar's crystalline face reflected the light and patterns indicating careful consideration. Currently minimal. Their faster-than-light travel remains theoretical. Their weapons are primitive by our standards. He paused meaningfully. But their development curve suggests they will achieve our level within decades, not centuries. The scientific division officially recommends classification as a protected developing species, Valeris stated. No contact for at least 70 solar cycles. Zinthar nodded in agreement. Based on all evidence, I am issuing a formal warning to all spacefaring civilizations. Avoid Earth and human-controlled territories. Their development is unpredictable, and their response to outside contact cannot be calculated with certainty. The chamber erupted in discussion. Most representatives signaled agreement, but the Valorian delegation remained notably unmoved. As the session concluded, Valorian Commander Dravik gathered his officers in a private chamber. The council grows more cautious with each cycle, he said, his voice low and controlled. First, they warned us away from the resource-rich Proxima systems, now this unremarkable world. His second-in-command, Officer Mevra, studied the data on her neural interface. Perhaps we should gather our own intelligence on these humans. Indeed, Dravik replied. Supreme Commander Vorath will want to know about this personally. Aboard the massive Valorian command vessel hovering near the edge of the Sol system, Supreme Commander Vorath reviewed the Council's warning. His quarters were sparse and utilitarian, adorned only with holographic representations of conquered worlds. Show me the human development data again, he ordered. A subordinate activated a display showing the same information Synthar had presented. Vorath watched with narrowed eyes, his scaled face reflecting the blue glow. And their military capabilities. Commander Dravik stepped forward. Primitive, Supreme Commander. Nuclear weapons but no planetary shields. Early space stations but no defensive grid. They haven't even unified their planet under a single government. Vorath made a dismissive gesture. The Council sees threats where there are none. They'd grown soft with peace. He circled the display, studying Earth. This world sits at the intersection of 3 major transit lanes. Its position alone makes it strategically valuable. The Council's warning was quite specific, sir, Dravik said carefully. Vorath laughed, a harsh sound that made junior officers flinch. Primitive mammals with rockets, nothing more. The Council warned us away from the Arcturus system with similar fear-mongering. We claimed it anyway. And now it's the jewel of our eastern territories. He zoomed in on images of human cities. Look at them, divided, chaotic, fighting constantly over resources they don't know how to properly utilize. A cruel smile crossed his face. They'll make excellent additions to our labor force. Their planet will serve as an important outpost. Dravik hesitated. Sir, perhaps we should consider additional surveillance before proceeding. The Council grows weak with age. Vorath interrupted, his voice suddenly hard. They see threats in shadows. We are the Valorian Empire. We take what we need. He turned to his bridge officers. Prepare 3 scout vessels for detailed scans of their defenses, resource concentrations, and population centers. And if we're detected, sir? Asked a junior officer. Vorath's face hardened. These humans have barely left their atmosphere. They cannot detect our cloaking technology. What if the Council discovers our operations? Dravik asked. By the time they learn of it, we will present them with a completed annexation. Vorath replied. As always, forgiveness is easier to obtain than permission. As the officers departed to carry out their orders, Dravik lingered. Sir, one final concern. The data shows these humans are remarkably adaptable. If they resist. Vorath cut him off with a sharp gesture. Commander Dravik, your caution borders on insubordination. We have conquered 43 worlds, some with technology far beyond what these humans possess. He pointed at Earth on the display. This will be the simplest annexation in our history. Dravik bowed his head. Of course, Supreme Commander. I'll oversee the scout mission personally. As Dravik left, Vorath studied the rotating image of Earth once more. Primitive mammals, he muttered. Soon to be primitive mammals in service to their betters. The scout vessels departed within hours, sliding silently through space toward the Sol system. The Valorian Empire had made its decision. The warning of the Galactic Alliance Council would go unheeded, and humanity, unaware of the attention it had gained, continued its chaotic, creative development on the blue world that was soon to become a battlefield. 3 Valorian scout ships entered the Sol system undetected, or so they believed. Their hulls, covered in light-absorbing material, appeared as nothing more than moving shadows against the backdrop of space. Each vessel carried advanced scanning equipment and a complement of 20 crew members. Maintain cloaking protocols, Commander Dravik ordered from the lead ship. These humans have primitive detection systems. They won't know we're here. The ships moved past the gas giants first, taking readings of planetary compositions and potential resource deposits. Officer Mevra analyzed the incoming data with growing interest. Commander, this system is remarkably resource-rich, she reported. The outer planets alone contain enough heavy elements to fuel our shipyards for decades. Dravik nodded without surprise. The Supreme Commander's instincts are rarely wrong. Continue scans as we move inward. As the scout vessels approached Mars, they slowed to study the rudimentary human outposts on the red planet. Dravik observed the simple habitats with contempt. Primitive pressurized shelters, he noted. They're barely surviving there. But they are surviving, Mevra pointed out, in an environment completely hostile to their biology. The fleet continued inward, finally reaching Earth orbit 5 days after entering the system. They positioned themselves in a high orbit beyond what they believed was human detection range. Begin comprehensive planetary scans, Dravik ordered. I want population centers, military installations, and government structures identified. The scouts settled into orbit, their advanced systems mapping Earth in extraordinary detail. Inside each ship, the Valorian crews worked efficiently, cataloging what they saw as an inevitably conquered world. Meanwhile, at NASA headquarters in Houston, Director Kylie was working late when the alert came in. A junior technician appeared at her office door, looking confused. "Director, I think you should see this," he said, holding out a tablet. Lee took it, her brow furrowing as she studied the anomalous readings. The data showed 3 objects in high Earth orbit, moving in perfect formation. They had appeared suddenly on the most sensitive deep space tracking array, but were invisible to standard systems. "How long have these been there?" she asked. "We can't be sure. The signals only appeared when we calibrated the new quantum interference detector. Regular systems show nothing." Lee stood up, suddenly alert. "Get me Dr. Haruki now." Within an hour, a hastily assembled team of specialists crowded around monitoring stations. Dr. Riina Haruki, the agency's leading xenolinguistics expert, studied the movement patterns with growing excitement and concern. "These are not natural objects," Lee stated, pointing to the tracking screen. "They're maintaining position with micro-adjustments. Natural objects don't do that." Haruki nodded. "The positioning is too precise. And look here, they've been scanning us. These energy patterns show active scanning technology far beyond our capabilities." The room fell silent as the implication sank in. "We need to notify the Security Council," someone suggested. "And say what?" Lee asked. "That we may have detected alien ships based on readings from an experimental system." Haruki stepped forward. "Director, if these are artificial craft, we should attempt communication. First contact should be peaceful." "And if they're hostile?" asked a military liaison. "Then we're already at their mercy," Haruki replied simply. "Look at their technology level. If they wanted to attack, they would have already." After a tense debate, Lee gave her approval. "Prepare a transmission, something universal. Mathematics is the same everywhere in the universe." Haruki's team worked through the night, crafting a simple message consisting of prime number sequences, basic geometric principles, and a simplified representation of the solar system. At dawn, they transmitted it across all available frequencies. Aboard the lead Valorian scout ship, alarms suddenly blared. "We're being pinged," shouted the communications officer. "Multiple frequencies." Dravik rushed to the command center. "Impossible. Their detection technology can't penetrate our cloaking fields." Officer Mevra analyzed the incoming signal. "It's a directed transmission, sir, at precisely our location." Her eyes widened. "They know exactly where we are. They detected us." "How?" Dravik asked incredulously. "Show me the content of the transmission," Dravik ordered. The screen displayed the mathematical sequence Earth had sent. Dravik studied it briefly. "Primitive luck," he declared, hiding his surprise. "Their message is a simple mathematical sequence, a child's attempt at showing intelligence. But the fact they detected us at all is concerning." "Should we respond, sir?" asked the communications officer. "No. Maintain radio silence. I need to report this to Supreme Command immediately." Hours later, aboard the Valorian command vessel, Supreme Commander Voreth reviewed Dravik's report with growing anger. "They detected you through our most advanced cloaking technology." Voreth's voice was dangerously quiet. "Yes, Supreme Commander. Their detection capabilities are far more advanced than our intelligence suggested." Voreth paced the command deck. "This wasn't part of the plan. The humans were supposed to be unaware of their observation until the invasion fleet arrived. Have they attempted to attack, to drive you away?" "No, sir. Only to communicate. They sent mathematical sequences, diagrams of their solar system. Voraf's eyes narrowed. They're revealing their knowledge to us. Foolish. He considered the situation for a moment. This changes nothing. The annexation proceeds as planned. Sir, Dravik ventured, perhaps we should reconsider our approach. The Council's warning. The Council is overly cautious. Voraf snapped. These humans have detected you. Yes, but what weapons do they have that could threaten our ships? Their most advanced firearms would barely scratch our hulls. Voraf turned to his tactical officer. The humans need to understand their place. Show them the consequences of their presumption. Target one of their orbital stations, something small but meaningful. The human space station, suggested the officer. Yes, it will make an adequate demonstration of our power. No survivors. Back on Earth, for 24 hours, NASA waited for a response to their greeting. Hope and excitement spread through the scientific community as word leaked about the potential first contact situation. Director Lee and Dr. Haruki remained at the command center, monitoring the mysterious objects, which had changed position slightly but remained in Earth orbit. Maybe they're studying our message, Haruki suggested hopefully. Before Lee could respond, multiple alarms began blaring. On the main screen, one of the unidentified objects was moving, accelerating rapidly toward the International Space Station. What are they doing? Lee demanded. Energy buildup detected, shouted a technician. Massive power signature. Haruki's face drained of color. Get me the ISS now. But it was too late. A blindingly bright beam of energy lanced out from the alien vessel, striking the International Space Station with pinpoint precision. In the vacuum of space, the station erupted in a silent explosion, debris spinning outward in all directions. 74 scientists from 21 nations perished instantly. Humanity's greatest collaborative achievement in space disappeared in seconds. In the shocked silence that followed at NASA, a single message appeared on their communication screen, translated automatically into crude English. Primitives should not presume to address their betters. Your world now belongs to the Valorian Empire. The age of human innocence ended in that moment. And unknown to the Valorians, their worst mistake had just been made. The human counteroffensive. The United Nations Security Council chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from all 15 member nations sat in stunned silence as they watched the replay of the International Space Station's destruction. The footage, captured by multiple Earth-based telescopes, showed the sudden flash of light and the station breaking apart. General Sophia Rice stood at the podium, her military uniform crisp and her expression controlled despite having slept only 3 hours in the past 2 days. As the newly appointed commander of the hastily formed Terran Defense Initiative, she carried the weight of humanity's response on her shoulders. The attack was unprovoked and deliberate, she stated once the footage ended. 74 of our finest minds are gone. People from 21 different nations died in that attack. She paused, letting the magnitude of the loss sink in. But in their cruelty, these aliens gave us something invaluable. She nodded to an aide, who distributed folders to each representative. We recovered wreckage, not just from our station, but from the alien vessel itself. Murmurs spread through the room as the representatives examined the photos of twisted metal and strange components. Their weapon left a signature that our quantum interference detector could track, Rise explained. When they fired on the station, microscopic fragments of their technology were ejected by the energy discharge. Dr. Haruki stepped forward from where she had been waiting in the shadows. Her eyes were ringed with exhaustion, but her voice was steady. We've been analyzing these fragments for the past 48 hours, she said. What we found is remarkable. Their technology is advanced, yes, but the underlying architecture, especially their computer systems, follows patterns we recognize. She tapped a control, and the main screen displayed comparative diagrams. Their computing systems are different in design but similar in logical structure. They process information in ways we understand. Given time, we can adapt our systems to interface with theirs. How is that possible? asked the French representative. Alien technology should be, well, alien. Mathematics is universal, Haruki replied. Logic follows certain rules regardless of who develops it. And there's something else. Their technology seems designed for aggression. Weapons, shields, propulsion, all optimized for military applications. The Secretary General leaned forward. What are you suggesting, Doctor? That we can understand them because they think like us in one crucial way. They're warriors. And we humans know quite a bit about war. How much time do you need? The Secretary General asked, his voice grave. Rais and Haruki exchanged glances. 6 months, they answered together. To do what? Demanded the Russian representative. Rais's eyes hardened. To be ready when they return. And they will return. 6 months, repeated the Secretary General. Can we expect another attack before then? We believe they intended the station as a warning, Rais replied. A demonstration of power before their main force arrives. Then we have work to do, the Secretary General said, standing. I will address the General Assembly within the hour. For the first time in human history, we face a threat to our entire species. We must respond as one. The vote was unanimous. All resources necessary would be directed to the Terran Defense Initiative. Across the galaxy, the massive chamber of the Galactic Alliance Council was in an uproar. The emergency session had been called with only hours' notice, something that hadn't happened in over 3 centuries. Elder Zinthar stood at the center of the chamber, his normally calm demeanor replaced with cold anger. The Valorians have violated our directive, he announced gravely, his voice cutting through the chaos. They've initiated conflict with the humans. The holographic display showed the destruction of the Earth space station, followed by readings from long-range sensors tracking Valorian fleet movements. Not only did they enter restricted space, but they have committed an act of war against a developing civilization, Zinthar continued. Senior scientist Val Eris stepped forward, her scientific detachment giving way to visible concern. We must intervene, she insisted. The Valorian Empire has grown too bold. If they conquer Earth, they will control a strategic position and gain access to significant resources. It may already be too late, Zinthar replied grimly, gesturing to the tactical displays showing Valorian warships approaching Earth's moon. Their main battle fleet has already been dispatched. An elderly counselor rose from his seat. We have protocols for this situation. The protection fleet can be mobilized. The nearest protection fleet vessel is 3 weeks away at maximum speed, Zinthar interrupted. The Valorians will have established orbital dominance by then. The council erupted in argument again. Some advocated immediate military action, others suggested diplomatic pressure, and a few even proposed abandoning the humans to their fate. Zinthar silenced them with a raised hand. We warned the Valorians. They chose to ignore us. Now we must decide. Do we enforce our edict with force, or do we allow our warnings to be ignored without consequence? Meanwhile, in the Sol system, a fleet of 15 Valorian warships approached Earth's moon. Their massive hulls dwarfed any vessel humans had ever constructed. On the command deck of the flagship, Supreme Commander Voreth studied the tactical display with satisfaction. The lunar colony will fall within hours. From there, we can launch the main invasion of Earth. Commander Dravik reviewed the intelligence reports. The colony appears minimally defended, sir. Our scans show perhaps 300 humans with basic weapons and environment suits. They have some mining equipment that could be repurposed for defense, but nothing that could threaten our ships. Begin the attack, Voreth ordered. I want the colony intact. Its facilities will be useful as a forward base. The Valorian fleet moved into position, spreading out to surround the small lunar outpost. Their weapon systems powered up, charging for what they expected to be a brief demonstration of force before the humans surrendered. On the surface of the moon, inside the reinforced bunker beneath the main colony dome, General Rais watched the approaching fleet on a monitor. Beside her, Dr. Haruki made final adjustments to an array of hastily assembled equipment. "They're in position," Rise observed, just as we predicted. Haruki nodded, her fingers flying over the controls. "The targeting system is locked. Power level stable." She looked up at Reyes. "This is our only test. If it fails, it won't," Rice said with quiet confidence. "Humanity doesn't have the luxury of failure today." She picked up a secure communicator. "All personnel, final warning. Brace for possible structural damage." She turned to Haruki. "Fire when ready, Doctor." Haruki pressed a sequence of commands. Deep beneath the lunar surface, a device cobbled together from alien fragments and human ingenuity hummed to life. Aboard the lead Valorian vessel, Commander Dravik was preparing to issue the ultimatum to the lunar colony when an alarm sounded. "Energy spike detected," shouted the sensor officer. "Massive power buildup from the lunar surface." "Impossible," Dravik replied. "Our intelligence shows no." He never finished the sentence. A concentrated beam of energy, identical to the one they had used to destroy the space station, lanced up from the lunar surface. It struck the lead vessel with pinpoint precision, slicing through its hull as if it were paper. "Shields failing," shouted the tactical officer as the ship shuddered violently. "Hull breach on decks 3 through 7. "Impossible," Dravik shouted as warning alarms blared throughout the ship. "That's Valorian technology." In the chaos that followed, 3 more Valorian ships were struck before the fleet could scatter and regroup. The lunar surface, which had appeared defenseless, now bristled with energy signatures their sensors hadn't detected until it was too late. From his command vessel, safely distant from the battle, Supreme Commander Vorath watched in disbelief as his invasion force fell into disarray. "How?" he demanded of his terrified officers. "How did primitive humans acquire Valorian defense technology?" No one had an answer. And on Earth, for the first time since the attack, people allowed themselves to hope. 3 months after the failed lunar invasion, Supreme Commander Vorath stormed into the war room aboard the Valorian flagship. His eyes blazed with fury as he surveyed his nervous officers. "Another supply depot destroyed," he shouted, smashing his fist against the tactical display. The holographic image flickered briefly from the impact. "That's the 5th one this week." The display showed the wreckage of a massive space station near the outer reaches of Valorian territory. Supply vessels lay shattered around it, their cargo scattered across space. "How are they striking targets so deep in our territory?" Vorath demanded. "They have no faster-than-light capability. It should be impossible." Commander Dravik stepped forward, his posture stiff. He had been reassigned after the lunar disaster, but was recently recalled as the situation grew worse. "Supreme Commander," he said carefully, "we've analyzed the attack patterns. The weapon signatures are familiar." "Explain," Vorath growled. Dravik brought up new images on the display. "They're using our own ships against us," he explained reluctantly. "The vessels we lost in the lunar attack, they've somehow repurposed them." Vorath stared in disbelief. "Impossible. The self-destruct protocols would have engaged. They disabled them," Dravik replied. "And more than that, they've improved on our designs. The energy output of these modified vessels exceeds our standard specifications by 20%. A junior officer stepped forward with a datapad. "Sir, we've also detected unusual communication patterns. The humans are somehow using our own relay network to coordinate their attacks." Vorath's face darkened with rage. These primitives, they were supposed to be easy prey. Now they raid our territories with impunity. He turned to his fleet commander. "Accelerate the timetable. I want the invasion fleet ready in 30 days, not 60. "Sir," Dravik ventured, "our forces are already stretched thin defending our supply lines. Perhaps we should reconsider." "We will crush them," Vorath shouted. "I will not be defeated by mammals who only discovered electricity a few centuries ago." Far across the galaxy, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean on Earth, Dr. Haruki hadn't seen sunlight in weeks. The classified facility, built inside a massive underwater cave system, housed thousands of scientists and engineers working around the clock. Haruki stared at her computer screen, her eyes red from exhaustion. The code displayed there was a curious mixture of human programming language and the alien symbols they had deciphered from captured Valorian technology. "Run the simulation again," she told her team. "We need to be certain." The massive display wall showed a virtual model of Valorian ships, their systems represented by flowing lines of energy and data. A small red dot, the virus they had created, moved through these systems, multiplying and spreading. "Simulation complete," announced a young programmer. 98% success rate. Their systems are completely vulnerable to the infiltration. Haruki allowed herself a small smile as she turned to face General Reyes, who had just entered the lab. "The virus is ready," she announced. "Once delivered to their command network, it will shut down their entire fleet." "Delivery is the problem," Reyes said, studying the simulation. "We need to get it directly into their central command systems." "I have an idea about that," Haruki replied. "They think like us, warriors. They understand force, dominance. They expect us to either surrender or fight conventionally. But we're not going to do either." Reyes finished the thought. "No," Haruki agreed. "We're going to do what humans do best: adapt." 1 month later, as the massive Valorian invasion fleet assembled at the edge of the Sol system, Supreme Commander Voreth stood on his command deck, watching with satisfaction as hundreds of warships moved into formation. This would be the largest military operation in Valorian history, a show of force that would crush the unexpectedly troublesome humans and serve as a warning to any who might defy the Empire in the future. "Supreme Commander," called the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth." "Put it through," Voreth ordered, curious what final pleas the humans might offer. The main screen activated, showing a single human female in a military uniform, General Reyes. "Valorian Command," she began, her voice steady. "This is General Sophia Reyes of the Terran Defense Force. We wish to discuss terms." Voreth smiled cruelly. "There are no terms to discuss, human. Only surrender or annihilation. Before you make that decision," Reyes continued, unmoved by the threat, "I'd like you to see something." The transmission changed to show several Valorian ships, the same ones that had been captured or destroyed in previous engagements, now flying in formation, clearly under human control. "We've been studying your technology," Reyes explained as the image returned to her. "We find it interesting, but inefficient. We've made some improvements." Voreth's rage built as he listened to this primitive creature speak so condescendingly about superior Valorian technology. "You have 1 hour to withdraw from this system," Reyes continued. "After that, we will consider your presence an act of war, and we will respond accordingly." "You dare threaten the Valorian Empire," Voreth snarled. "You are nothing, less than nothing. We will turn your world to ash." Reyes nodded, as if she had expected exactly this response. "We thought you might say that." Transmission complete. As the screen went dark, alarms began blaring throughout the flagship. Systems across the vessel began shutting down. Weapons, shields, life support. The same was happening on every ship in the fleet. "What is happening?" Voreth demanded as the lights flickered and emergency systems engaged. "System-wide failure," reported a panicked officer. "Some kind of virus is spreading through our network. It's in everything." "How?" Voreth roared. "How did they penetrate our security?" Commander Dravek, studying a functioning console, looked up with dawning horror. "The transmission, sir. They hid it in the communication itself. And we retransmitted it to the entire fleet as per protocol." As the Valorian fleet drifted powerless in space, a second wave of smaller vessels approached. Earth ships, retrofitted with modified Valorian technology. They moved through the helpless armada, attaching devices to key vessels. Supreme Commander, Dravik reported grimly. They're placing some kind of devices on our ships. Before Voreth could respond, the communication screen activated again, showing Reyes once more. Those are transponders, she explained. They will allow us to track every vessel in your fleet forever. We've also uploaded a permanent version of our virus to your central systems. If any Valorian ship enters this system again without permission, all of your technology will simply stop working. She leaned forward slightly. We don't want your territory. We don't want your resources. We just want to be left alone. But if you force us to fight, we will. And we will win. The screen went dark again. Moments later, auxiliary power returned to the Valorian vessels, just enough for life support and basic navigation. In the silence that followed, Voreth, for the first time in his military career, found himself without words. 6 months later, in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Alliance Council, Elder Zinthar addressed the assembly once more. The mood was solemn but tinged with a new respect. The humans have applied for observer status within the Alliance, he announced. Their representatives will arrive next cycle. The chamber hummed with conversation. The human response to the Valorian aggression had sent shockwaves through the galactic community. No species had ever defeated the Valorians so thoroughly, and certainly none had done it while still technically a pre-FTL civilization. What of the Valorians? Asked a counselor. Their empire has withdrawn to core territories, Valeris reported. Internal reports suggest significant political upheaval. Supreme Commander Voreth has been removed from power. Zinthar nodded sagely. I believe we should reconsider our classification of humanity. They are no longer simply a developing species. What are they, then? Asked another counselor. Zinthar's crystalline face caught the light from 100 stars as he considered his answer carefully. They are a reminder, he said finally. A reminder that evolution takes many paths, that adaptability can be more powerful than technology, and that warnings, even those from this council, should never go unheeded. The chamber fell silent, each representative contemplating the new reality of a galaxy where humans were no longer an isolated curiosity, but an emerging power, one that had announced its arrival not with diplomacy or trade, but with a demonstration of just how dangerous it could be to underestimate them.